You're recording it, okay.
People are on their way in. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We'll just wait a sec for a few more people to join. And whilst we're waiting for those people, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. Let us know where you're joining us from and what your charity's mission is. Give it another minute. Zoom can take a little while to log on sometimes, and then we'll make a start. Welcome, Angela. Okay, great. I think we will make a start. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to our focus group, so a tailored direct debit solution for your organization. I'm James, the head of marketing here at Charity Digital, and I'll be your host for today's session. I thought it'd be good to start with a bit of context about Charity Digital's mission for those of you who may not know. So Charity Digital are a charity ourselves, and we help other charities increase their impact by being more digital. So we have two primary charitable activities. We provide access to software products that charities need at dramatically reduced prices. And we publish content, so articles, podcasts, videos, and we run webinars and events that educate charity professionals and volunteers on how to make better use of digital tools and technologies. So we're proud to say that we've helped over 1 million charity professionals learn about digital transformation, improve their digital skills through our content website, events and training programs, and have enabled over 77,000 charities save in excess of 284 million on their technological investments. So that is where our partnership with Direct Debit comes in. So they've created a payment processing service that's been built for fundraisers by fundraisers, which can handle all the payments for your charity so you can concentrate on your cause. The pricing of this does vary and depends on your needs. So if you're interested in using the service after this call, feel free to get in touch with us and we can share those numbers with you. So just before I hand over to our speakers, I just want to share a few house rules and pointers for today's session. So the session is being recorded and will be uploaded to watch on demand within a week's time. So, and any slides or resources will also be made available to you by the end of the day. So don't worry if you've missed anything. Closed captions are available for today's session. If you want to enable these, in the bottom of the Zoom window, click the up arrow button next to closed caption and press show subtitle. During the webinar, please ask loads of questions in the chat box for Chris, Jonathan and Sam to address at the end of the presentation, and feel free to share any other comments, experiences or top tips in the chat. Once the session ends, you'll be prompted for feedback, and we'd love to hear thoughts on how we can continue to help your organization. So please take a few minutes to share your thoughts. Without further ado, I will hand over to Chris.
Thank you, James, and yeah, welcome everyone, and thanks so much for joining. So I'm just going to start by showing you a few slides just to sort of get you thinking about the benefits of regular giving and the different fundraising channels you can use to acquire regular gifts and the different methods by which you can process those regular gifts as well. And then I'll pass over to my colleague Jonathan, who will show you a sort of in-depth view of the direct debit platform that we have. I'm on a two-screen setup here, so apologies if my eyes look like I'm bouncing between screens, and I always find it a little bit more challenging presenting to a list of names as opposed to faces. So hopefully I'll do my best for you today. So just to start with, that we often get asked here by various charities, what are the benefits of having a regular giving program? So what we mean by regular giving program, for those of you sort of new to the sector or new to your charity, it's a program where you've got a good number of loyal supporters making regular gifts to your charity every month, quarter, or every year. Now, these benefits have been pulled together from us, but also from our other clients that do have active regular giving programs. And when we ask them why they invest sort of budget and time into it each year, these are the sort of the top ones that come out. So the first one being, if you have a decent number of regular supporters, it can reduce the financial risk to your charity because you've got a relatively stable income coming in on a regular basis that you can more easily plan for over time. Some of you that work with high net worth individuals, you probably agree that a lot of high net worth individuals want to restrict their gifts to a particular cause or area of the organisation. What we find with sort of non-high net worth donors, so sort of more mass donors, if you like, is they're very happy to give to a sort of general unrestricted pot if asked in the right way. And that can keep treasurers and CEOs of charities pretty happy because then the charities can use it however best they like to each year. We often find as well, just thinking a bit more long term, sometimes when donors restrict their gifts the first year they make it, when that cause is fully funded, or if you want to reallocate that money later down the line, it can sometimes be quite challenging to ask the donor to give to a different area of the charity 3 or 4 years on from when they made their first gift. Whereas if you can get them giving to an unrestricted pot early on, then that can stay like that for the duration they're connected to your organisation. A lot of our clients say it's much easier to measure instant success and report on their income because you can easily plot graphs seeing the number of regular gifts you've got coming in each month or at the end of the year. Yes, you can get donors that cancel, of course, but with successful stewardship programs in place, you'd hope that the retention would be, as a decent level to warrant your investment in it. When we speak to high net worth professionals that deal in this area, they often say that the new high net worth individuals to a charity, often their first gift came years ago as a regular gift to the charity. Not always, but quite often that's the case. So someone who sets up a gift of £5 a month to your charity next month, yes, it might be a small amount depending on the size of your charity, but give it 5, 10, 15 years. If they keep giving regularly, they're more connected to your cause, more passionate about your cause, and hopefully make bigger gifts over time. And that ties in as well with unearthing future legacy prospects. Any research you've read in the legacy space will quickly tell you that someone's more likely to make a legacy gift if they've had more interactions with your charity over their lifetime, whether that's through engagement or philanthropically. And then I guess more of a secondary benefit, but by having an active regular giving program, you're more regularly contacting a larger number of your supporters by phone, email, post, or whatever channels you choose to use. And naturally, with bounce backs, redirects, things like that, you will improve the quality of your database over time, which benefits the whole organization. And then the final one, which is probably one of my favorite ones, is the more people you have giving to your charity, even on a small regular basis, just creates that sense of great culture to the charity. It shows to everyone that's connected to you that you've got a great cause and that people really back it and believe in it. And again, some of your top donors, it's a great message to them to be able to say, look, you give large sums of money to us, but just so you know, we've got lots of people giving smaller regular amounts because that's what they can financially afford, but they back the cause as much as you do. So it's sort of everyone coming together. So just want to show you a few numbers here. Now, just take this with sort of pinch of salt if you like, in terms of these numbers will vary completely depending on the size of your charity, and you will know that. But the numbers, just see it more as just a concept I'm trying to show you. Some of you will think these numbers are way too high for your charity. Some will think it's way too low, but that's not really the point of what I'm about to show you. It's more just showing you relative over time the power of what a regular gift can do. So you've got the years going across from 2024 all the way to 2028. So if in the charity where you work, you decide to do a big mass fundraising push this year, whether that's through phone, post, email, and your goal is to acquire new regular gifts, you might generate over 100,000 in gifts. Many of those would be regular, so that 100k, 110k income would come over a 4-year period. So in 2024, the single gifts that you get from that big fundraising push will add up to maybe 14,000, and then your regular gifts will come in over a 4-year, will be counted over a 4-year period for stats purposes, but each year you receive about 24,000 in that year. There'll be drop off in that, so I haven't included that here, but I just want to show you how that income is split out. Then in 2025, in this example, there's no big fundraising push, but 2026 there is, and it raises a bit less at 90k. With regular gifts counted over a 4-year period. So you can see there in the second row, you've got the single gifts and the regular gifts from year 1 coming in. And then in 2027 and 2028, you've got the regular gifts still coming in. Then in 2027, there's no big mass fundraising push. You're waiting until 2028, and that's building on the fundraising success from 24 and 2026. So it's a bit more successful, bringing in 120k with regular gifts counted over a 4-year period. But as for 2028, you've got that single gift and regular gift breakdown there. So what you can quickly see is the unrestricted income accumulates quite quickly over time. So even in 2025, the year where you're not doing any big mass fundraising, you're still getting the regular gifts from the fundraising you did this year. In 2027, the same applies, except you're still getting the regular gift income from the fundraising push in 24, and the fundraising push that you did in 2026 is still generating the regular gifts. So the regular gifts really are pretty powerful because they can be built on over time, and it just takes the pressure off the charity. When you're not doing big fundraising pushes, you're still getting the regular gifts coming in. So we often say there's three different methods of regular giving: a standing order, regular card payments, and direct debits. And some of you will have different experiences in each of these, but I thought it'd just be helpful to show a summary here of what we think are the advantages and disadvantages of each method. So standing orders, they've been around for a long time. They've got the advantage that they're free for the donor and almost minimal cost for the charity as well. I guess the disadvantages of standing orders is the donor has to set it up, so you're reliant on them. So you're creating more effort for the donor. Can be quite high admin work associated with processing it, and it can be difficult to upgrade these regular gifts over time because you're reliant on the donors to do it. With that, there's sometimes a risk that a donor doesn't set it up, which leads to lost income for the charity. Regular card payments, a few charities rely on these. They're great for overseas gifts because that's sort of one of the main payments processing you can use for your international supporters. And the card payments, the gifts come in, you receive that income pretty quickly. And the downside to them is they're expensive. Typically 3 to 5% gets lost in transaction fees, and you need a PCI secure environment to process the card payments. And that's pretty important these days. And then a big one, which often isn't talked about much in the sector, but cards obviously expire, and people get new debit credit cards every few years. And when they expire, the gifts stop automatically. So you need the new details to set it back up. So again, that can lead to lost income. With direct debits, typically, whoever the processing platforms are out there, they're very cost effective, more cost effective than card payments. The charity is in control of the direct debit, so you've got control of it. It's low admin work for charities and very easy for the donor. So it ticks a lot of boxes there. You don't need any sensitive information to set up a direct debit. And you can set it up through various different channels, which I'll come on to next. And typically the gifts last longer over time because the account number and sort codes don't change too often. If people change bank accounts, the direct debits can transfer over. But the downside is you need a UK bank account to process a direct debit. So the donor's got to be typically in the UK. And payment timings something to consider. So there's set periods in the month where the gifts can come out. And then finally, we're often asked, how do we go about generating this regular income? We know that it's really beneficial, but how do we do it? There's lots of channels out there. What's the best one to use? Unfortunately, it's a bit of a wishy-washy answer in terms of there isn't the perfect fundraising channel to use. They've all got their strengths and weaknesses. But I think what we've seen over 20 years of regular gift fundraising is every supporter will have their preferred method of making their gift. And it's about just trying to find out what that is and giving them a cocktail of channels so that they can pick their preferred channel to make their gift. But the four that often get explored are direct mail, email, phone, and more recently giving days. So just to highlight a few strengths and weaknesses of them. The direct mail has quite high impact on everyone. It sticks around their home address on top of the microwave kitchen table. So it's a good reminder of them to make their gift once you've sent it. But giving isn't straightforward. It does rely on the donor to fill out a form, put it in an envelope, walk to the post box and post it. So that effort can put some donors off, which is why the return that you see isn't always as high as you'd like. Email and social media, typically, it's low cost, if not free, which is great. But we often find limited success with this in terms of just everyone seems to have smartphones these days, and everyone's goal, no matter what the day, is to clear the inbox typically. And with all the email noise, emails can get missed, especially marketing fundraising ones. Phone's been around for a long time. It's very personal. You've got the two-way interaction between the charity and the supporter, and you can really persuade someone over the phone as to why setting up a regular gift is really important. So, the phone channel is definitely the most effective channel at acquiring new regular gifts compared to direct mail and email. But the big downside is not everyone's got a phone number, and not everyone picks up the phone. So that has to be considered with any forecasting you do. And then Giving Day is probably the most recent or newest channel that's come to the sector. And this is a sort of a celebration day about the charity. Almost think Children in Need Comic Relief, where they do their one big appeal nights. It's a digital day, very public facing. It's fun. You have lots of events and activities happening on the day, and it's sending out lots of emails asking people to make their gift in a short space of time, typically 24-hour period. But it typically just gets single gifts. So if you're looking for regular gifts, this wouldn't be the channel in year 1 to use. So that's a sort of whistle-stop tour of regular giving and the sort of benefits of it. Appreciate I haven't sort of gone into loads of detail, but if you do have questions at the end, happy to answer them. So I'll hand over to Jonathan.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. Thank you very much, Chris. That was really interesting. It's nice to see, obviously, we're going to be talking today about the donor debit platform, which is specifically for taking direct debit payments. But, you know, in order to get direct debit payments, you obviously need a means to fundraise to get those direct debits. And that's why it's quite interesting to kind of tie those two together. So there's a nice bit of flow there between the two. So I'm going to do a screen share and show you what the platform looks like, and I'll also go through an overview of the service and how it kind of it works in general. So, okay. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. Chris, can you give me a thumbs up if people can see my screen? Chris, can you see it? No?
No, you can't see it.
Can't see it. Okay, let's figure this out then. Apologies for this then. Right. Yeah, hopefully that's all good now. Thank you, James. That's great. Brilliant. Okay, so donor debit. We are like Chris says, we've been in the sector over 20 years now, with all sorts of charities, and basically when working with clients over the years, there were lots of there was a few kind of payment options out there in terms of processing, being able to take direct debits. There were a bit more specific or general kind of payment providers covering all sorts of, not just charity, but just general commercial payments. So we wanted something that was a bit more specific and a bit more aimed towards the charity sector, and the features that we built into the system were slightly more specific. So how it basically works is that we have a master SUN. So SUN is a service user number, which is basically it's what you required from your bank in order to actually collect direct debits. As you know, direct debits, they go through BACS, which is the UK kind of supporting body for actually processing of those payments. And one of the major benefits of our service is that you don't need to jump through all of the hoops and costs to actually obtain your own service user number. And so this is such a benefit, particularly to smaller and mid-sized institutions who don't have the financial means to kind of get set up. And so it means that from a setup point of view, you can actually start collecting and start taking payments pretty much straight away, which is great at minimum cost too. And so we set out a way that to make regular payments accessible to all, and no matter what size of the institution that you are, which is how we came about developing this service here. So it's a self-served platform, but equally at the same time, it's very much designed to take away pretty much all of the admin from your point of view, to minimize the amount of work that you put into just dealing with boring day-to-day admin of processing payments. It means that you can obviously focus on the work that you're doing. So if you want to literally just kind of upload payments and kind of forget about it, we've developed the means for you to do so. So when you set up with us, you'll be given some login details, and those login details will give you access to this portal basically, and you can add and take away as many users as you like, and we can kind of set the different user preferences of who's actually kind of seeing those the different areas of the system as well. So the first page you'll see when you log in is just an overview dashboard. Now, obviously, this is just a demo. We don't have any live transactions here, which is why they say all 0 here. But basically, these kind of are summaries to kind of give you a projection of what your income looks like over the next financial year. So we can tailor financial year dates depending on kind of how you report on them. And the little breakdown here will give you a summary of what the expected income is from those direct debits over that financial year. And these are similar to the above, but these would be a projection over the next 12-month period. And you'll see a useful graph here that basically see what the expected cash is along with the actual collected cash, which is the actual money that's actually received in your banks. And we have a processing calendar down below. So it's with direct debits, some of you may or may not have experience with them, but there's certain lead times that need to be taken into account when setting up a direct debit. You need to set up an instruction, send that to the bank, and it needs to be done with sufficient time before the payments can actually get done. Now, we handle all of that behind the scenes. You know, we know when they need to happen, and the system kind of handles it all automatically. But for you to kind of give you a bit of exposure to those dates, and it's also useful because you will know, for example, if we look at this one here, we can see that the collection day, the next collection day for this particular example is on the 15th. And so the last day that you could send the advance notification for anyone to collect direct debits was actually last Thursday's, meaning that you'll know that if someone signs up direct debit, you'll know when the earliest collection point that you can actually start taking those monies. So it kind of gives you that information there. So moving on from the separate parts is that the way that I'll kind of structure this demo, I'll show you just how to set up the different methods of setting up direct debit, what happens in terms of how we collect the payments, and then how you're then informed about those payments, and I'll kind of go on further about some extra reporting and useful tools that the system has. So in terms of setting up direct debits, there's a couple of different methods that you can basically do so. As part of this, so we can set up a kind of already Baxt approved giving page for you. So this is a kind of a payment page that you can have on your website where you can kind of drive your supporters to set up a direct debit directly. Benefit of this being is that the payment pages, all need to be Baxt approved. Now ours follows those requirements, so you don't have to worry about kind of getting your payment page approved. You obviously don't need to employ an external web developer or anything like that. It's all built and within the system here, and so we can be. This is obviously just another particular charity that we kind of work with, but the formatting and the layout, the logos and the design of the page can obviously be tailored and so customized, so it looks like it's your institution, as well as the information that gets collected. So you obviously here you can collect the contact details from the person, the payment details, the particular projects or designations that they want to support, and obviously the amount and frequencies. All of those, of course, are tailored for your particular institution, and they will then submit their account details, hit submit. Now we do what's called modulus checking on all new direct debits that are set up. A modulus check basically checks that the bank account exists and it's a live account, and that type of account actually accepts direct debits. For example, it's not something like a savings account which doesn't support direct debits. So basically when you hit submit, you'll know then that you won't get any failures back from knowing that the direct debit will go through fine. Now this was obviously be completed by the donor, and so what happens when they go and complete this form, hit submit, they would obviously then get an email notification And then the email notifications would be sent from it would look like it gets sent from your institution. The way we kind of specify the email address that you want to send it from, and again it will have your email branding, so it all very much looks like it's kind of handled in-house. And from a donor's perspective, it doesn't necessarily look like you've got a third-party intermediary involved, which again is nice because it gives them that kind of confidence that they know that their money is going towards yourselves. And so they will obviously get an instant email notification confirming them of their setup with the direct debit, which is pretty standard nowadays with most online transactions, of course. And so you will also see, for the administration units that we've set you up on the system, will also receive a notification saying that Mr. John Doe has just set up a new direct debit. So you can then log on to the system, and then you'll have the record here, and you can review the information here. You can see the details that have been kind of supplied and the donation amounts and any additional details. And then you can basically just accept that, and then that will actually go live into the system. So from your point of view, that to actually have that direct debit start collecting payments, that's the only bit of an administration that you actually need to do. So it's really nice and straightforward. The second method for uploading details is that perhaps a donor gets in contact with you directly, or they complete a form, like a paper direct debit form. That's the other important thing to mention, is that because of the setup we have the ability to accept paperless and paper direct debits. But let's say someone completes a paper mandate and then they've given it to yourselves, you can come into here and you can actually fill in the details. The system allows you to have information such as the donor URN. So whatever database system that you use, you can enter the same constituent ID that you have on that database system. That means that when you need to tie the records separately to your database from a reporting point of view, those two records can talk to each other. And then you would basically just go and complete the form, essentially fill in the details on behalf of the supporter, and then you would go complete it, hit submit, and again that direct debit would now be live. And then the final way that you can do so is that we do allow you to do bulk payments. So let's say you've done a campaign and you've phone campaign, email campaign, whatever it is, and you've kind of got a bulk of direct debits you need to set up, then you can upload them in bulk to the system. Equally, at the same time is that our system supports you to bulk upgrade direct debits, meaning that if you've just or current supporters and you've just done a drive to upgrade their gifts, again, without having to set up new direct debits, very straightforward. You can come and upgrade those and just change the payment amounts to the newly upgraded payment amount. So once you've set up the gift, the next administrative kind of burden, I suppose, to do is to send out an advance notification. So there's a couple of ways that you can do this. You can either send it via email, which we recommend is certainly the easiest way. The alternative way is that you can send a letter. So it depends on your institution and how you want to do those. But certainly if you want to do it via email, which is obviously the easiest way that we recommend, we've built it into the system that allows you to do so. So once the gift's been set up, the record will come into the advanced notification section here, and you can basically pre-set up an email template. So that can be handled in our settings menu, where we can, here's for example, is where we can actually specify the email address it gets sent from, the client name. So this is obviously what the donor receive when it actually hits their mailbox. And we can set up email templates. You can put your branding on it, for example, and any details that you want going through in that email, then you can do so. So this means that when you go to actually sending those advanced notifications, if I do this, for example, it will come up with a nice merged example, and you can double down on this by having the thank you email for that person's donation, and as well at the same time send them the advanced notification text, which is the kind of legal requirement to actually start taking those direct debits. And as you can see here, the has things like the direct debit guarantee, the service user number, and all those good things on. Now, in terms of what the so that handles the kind of I suppose the other common core part of the kind of admin process of what's involved. You can easily send it from here, or you can actually preview it, so you can also see what it's going to look like before you actually hit send and those things. And essentially, for you to kind of loop through the different records that you need to do and send them. Now, effectively, once the payments I've got set up, our system is set up in a way that basically we handle all the scheduling of the actual instructions, and some payment providers you have to every month go and kind of resend the list of who needs to be paid what, and sometimes that needs to get managed on your own database, which can be quite a cumbersome task. Our system handles all of that automatically. So if you set up an instruction for a monthly gift, basically every month our system will generate those payment files, and it will get sent to the supporting bank to actually take those payments automatically. So from that admin point of view, it massively reduces any burden. You can effectively just kind of, once it's been set up and the advance notice has been sent, effectively sit back and do nothing should you choose to. Now, obviously, once the payments get actually collected from the donor's bank account, we have the settlements, where settlements of these are obviously the monies that gets paid out to yourselves, the charities. So basically, we do settlements up to basically there's 4 a month. So we can collect payments on the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd of every month. And those would be the collection date options that you would that you can offer to your supporters to collect on. And basically, every collection that happens, we then go ahead, take the money, and then the money gets held temporarily in a secure client account. So the money, we can't touch the money. So it's a client account, similar to when you're buying a property and it goes sent to the lawyers. What happens is that within a few days, we wait for any failures to come through, which could be like any not sufficient funds in a bank account, for example, and they basically would get notified through to the system, and you'll get an email notification from our system saying this week's settlement report is ready. You can download the full report here, and our system nicely kind of splits out and tells you which of the gifts enable this, which of the gifts has been successfully collected and which has failed. And you have separate tabs, so you can see the individual records, who they are, and you can also see any failures that have come in, and they'll be in a separate tab, which makes a lot easier. So it's a lot easier, for example, than trying to just look through all the confirmed payments and try and figure out from your end which payments haven't come in. We tell you which ones, so you don't have to do that task yourself. So the settlements, I'm conscious of time, so I can go expand on this slightly more, but I won't go into too much detail right now. But basically, we have in addition to, we have a number of different kind of reporting options available on the system, where you can get access to the data onto the system. You can specify the type of records that you want to view, if you want to see which ones are currently being collected, which ones have cancelled, and all those kind of things. And you can download that information directly from the system. So in a nutshell, just giving you a very brief kind of overview of the system. That's kind of how it works, as just a brief reminder. So it's very much set up to really kind of reduce the admin burden from yourselves. and the to get set up and start collecting payments straight away, you can effectively do so pretty instantly, really. And I think that pretty much covers it from my end. So James, I will pass it back to you. Any kind of very specific questions that people may have, then absolutely fire them onto the system, or we can have separate conversations and go into in-depth details now. But I don't really want to cover everything right now, because I'm conscious that probably there's some questions that we might want to cover in the period that we have. Okay, so I'll pass it back to James.
Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan, and thank you, Chris, as well. And also thanks to Sam in the chat, who's been answering quite a lot of the questions. There are answers in there, but I think it would be quite useful just to reiterate them over the chat as well. So one that we've had was, is there a facility for taking one-off payments? Which I believe was answered as yes. Then this one, so is there, yes.
Do you want to shall I answer the questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a question regarding, can the facility take off one-off payments? So the answer is yes. Direct Debit is able to set up one-off direct debits. So the process would work by you uploading an installment, and then we'd take that installment once, and then it'll be cancelled afterwards. So it allows you to take these sort of one-off payments without needing the credit or debit card details from a donor.
Brilliant, thank you. This is a really good question. Is there any fairly easy way to switch current regular donors from their standing orders to direct debits with the least possible hassle to them, and give them reassurance that you won't increase the amount or in future without their express permission?
Yeah, so I think it's about communicating and getting kind of giving those reasons as to why direct debits are much better for the charity. So there's not a one solution. It's not something you can kind of automatically transfer donors from one to the other, because it is a completely separate system. But the online giving page certainly makes that process easier, because they're simply having to input that information, onto that one page. And often it's around sort of making it clear that there are administrative savings. The ability with a direct debit gives the charity the ability to sort of make changes positively on their behalf. So if they did want to, increase that donation or even decrease it, then they don't have to go through the bank. They can go through the charity and they can do that for them. Or if they wanted to sort of pause a payment, skip a collection, those are things that the charity can do for them with the direct debit being set up, which just isn't possible with a standing order. So I think it's just worth sort of having, making those points, and probably just sending a direct mail piece out where you give them the option to go onto the page, and then it may be a few stragglers at the end, which you'll sort of do on a more tailored approach, one-to-one, calling them maybe. But yeah, I think a lot of them will be quite happy to transfer over to it, because it's such a common method.
I think just another important factor, so every direct debit, the payers are protected by the guarantee, the direct debit guarantee, which is essentially the indemnity. So we cover the indemnity effectively. So the risk sits on us rather than yourselves. So that's good de-risking from your point of view. And also from the donor's point of view, they have the right to reclaim that money at any point, even after the gift has cancelled.
Great, thanks both. We've got one here that was answered in the chat, but it's just come through again, so definitely an important one. Do you collect gift aid on behalf of donations made?
So on a direct debit, when somebody makes a donation, we can record that a gift is gift aidable. And in some cases, it wouldn't be appropriate for sort of lotteries, for example, sort of aren't sort of gift aided. So no, we don't claim them automatically. And we give you the information in your reports to make those claims alongside other gifts that you might be collecting for outside of this system, sort of credit card donations separately as well. So No, we don't. We record the information for you if it's appropriate to do so, and you can make those claims.
Great, thanks so much.
Just quickly, sorry,
sorry.
just no, it's fine. On the settlement reports, something I probably should have mentioned was there is a column that tells you about the gift aid amount that's claimable. So you can actually see that very clearly on those forms.
Perfect. Yeah, just launched a poll in the chat as well, just sort of for us to understand what you're looking to use your direct debits for. So donations, lottery, fundraising, subscriptions, or other. You can select multiple ones, but it's just useful for us to sort of tailor the answers to those. Next one we have, for the advanced notifications emails, can you set the system to send them automatically once a direct debit has been set up properly?
So no, it can't be sent automatically. As Johnny sort of alluded to, the idea is that this is not just sort of the tick boxing of sending out the A&L, but it's also an opportunity to personally thank them for that donation. And within that, you may need to confirm their declaration on gift aid. You might need to specify what fund they've supported. And so normally this is something that, although we make it very quick, a matter of, 3 buttons need to be clicked in order to send it out. It's not something that's sort of done en masse for you. But once you start using it, it becomes quite a quick thing to do, particularly with the templates being used. You can kind of have that already there, ready to send.
Another reason is that it's very often that donors already exist on your database, so you need to kind of go and find what their constituent ID is already on your database to go and then tie that to the record. So therefore, that's before you can do that before then the advance note can actually get sent out.
Brilliant, thank you. Interesting one here. Can we create a QR code for a one-off payment?
So the way in which you could do that is that certainly the website is accessible by sort of setting up a QR code, and you can pre-populate the form so that certain fields appear already filled out. For example, the amount and the fund drop downs that they kind of automatically say £10 a month to X fund. And so that would sort of make it certainly quicker and a very quick way of going to the page, but they still need to fill out their own details regarding their account details and their name and address. But certainly, yeah, as it's a website, it can be sort of made into a shortened link or QR code.
Yes, perfect. This one, can donor debit be plugged into Salesforce?
So the way in which we handle kind of reconciling of gifts is that, and it's something Johnny would show you, it's a sort of, we provide you with a spreadsheet that you can download that basically lists every single successful collection that's been taken. And that spreadsheet allows for importing of those gifts. So no, there's not a direct connection, sort of an API feature, but likes of Salesforce and other CRMs will have the import function where you can import gifts onto records, and we work with you to get that really streamlined and quick, so that actually it will take a matter of 5 minutes to complete once you've got that importing set up. So we certainly work with you to sort of make that as quick as possible.
Brilliant, thank you. So is there scope for an annual automatic increase of the direct debit? So
you can, on the system, upgrade existing donors via an import feature. So a bit like Johnny would have showed you when you're setting up new gifts, the same sort of process works for importing. So certainly, if you were to notify your donors or your supporters of an increase, and that was sort of built into the communication you have each year, it goes up, then you could go in and update all of your records to be X amount more, and then the system would generate those new advance notices that you'd need to send out for you. You still have to send them out. You can't kind of do it without sending them out. But yeah, certainly there's a way in which you can schedule it a year's time, you can put the start date for an increase, and then it can sit there waiting until it's needed to kick in. So yes.
Thank you. And then just a final one in this section. So we have a Meals on Wheels service. Can your system also embrace variable amount direct debits in payment for meals supplied? I'll repeat that if it didn't make sense.
Morwenna, is it in terms of each month the collection amount changes?
Wait a minute, I have to take it off mute.
You're off mute. Yeah, we can hear you.
You can hear me. Oh, no, it's definitely not the same amount each month. It varies from day to day according to what the client's order.
Yeah,
because they've got hospital appointments or their son or daughter brings them a meal, so it's constantly changing.
Okay, and how when because when you're making the collection, I think it depends. Obviously, you can you can change collection of the value that you're collecting each month, but you need to give them the required notice for that collection amount to change.
I'm just thinking that if going to your system for regular giving, it could also embrace collection of monies for our Meals on Wheels service. That would be sort of like a double whammy for us. It also cut down the number of entries going through our bank accounts as well.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you can, like Sam says, basically, normally you would import a new record or a new direct debit, and it will try to take the same payments. Let's say, for example, £10. It will try to take £10 each month, but you can change that figure. So there's installment balance, which is access. You can search the individual direct debits. You can actually just find the people, and then you can actually change those amounts. You could also, in theory, do it in bulk as well if needs be. So it does add a little bit of extra admin from your end if you were to just doing, but obviously you wouldn't know. It would have to be done anyway, because if it's going to be different payment amounts each month, then you would need to do so.
We have to raise an invoice, and then I as treasurer have to go and ensure that it's collected by 101 different means. If there's a way of paying, then they pay. But if we could control it, that would be hugely beneficial to us.
Yeah, and there's probably a conversation that we can have externally,
sure.
and just to go into the specifics, but in essence, yes, it can be achieved.
Brilliant.
I guess it's in the way you would provide them with an invoice on one day and then collect the following month for that amount, and then they know exactly how much is being collected. And so, yeah, it's definitely interesting use.
Yeah, we could follow it through and work something out, which is brilliant to know, because that would make the service even more beneficial to us.
Great.
Thank you.
Great question, thank you. So does or can the donor info entry page include a section for the donor to indicate which activity program they want to give to? So whether completely unrestricted or aimed at a particular program area, e.g. we have different regular donors for our health and education activities.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so there's a fund drop down, so you can choose your funds that you'd like to have as options, and you can update that as funds develop and some funds get removed, and so they can sort of specify where they'd like it to go to. And on top of that, the form itself can include additional questions that might be very specific to your charity that you need to capture, that we can add on as well, that can be recorded against. So yeah,
and all those funds and that information get specified in the settlement form, so you can know the different designations that need to go.
Great, thank you. From what I can see, we've got 2 more questions. I think we'll have time for maybe 1 or 2 more. So if you do have any, please do post those in the chat. So Ricky asks, we want to collect direct debits via business accounts. Is this possible via your service?
So yes, in terms of making collections from business accounts, the main thing to bear in mind if they're doing it online via the sort of web form, is the person basically got sole signatory rights. So by that I mean sort of they can set up direct debits on their own without somebody else from the business co-signing. So if that's the case, then yes, they can use it via the web form. If not, the only thing you do then is just send them out a paper donation form, and they complete that. So you can get the different signatories needed and then set it up on donor debit. So both of them are still, options, but certainly the online option is only available when only one person has the, can set it up without the other's permission, basically. A bit like joint accounts, essentially, and how they work.
Brilliant. And then the final one, I think Ros has dropped off anyway, and you've pretty much covered this. But Ros basically wanted to know about payment for events, hence the need for one-off payments. But you kind of covered one-off payments earlier.
Yeah, so yes, the answer is yes. One-off payments when they are a one-off direct debit are suitable. It works well for. Did Jennifer have a question? She's put her hand up.
Yeah, feel free to unmute, Jennifer.
Thank you. I put it, it's a bit further up, it's probably just got lost in the thing. Another one from me. I was just wanting to be clear, I'm not sure I quite followed it completely. Does the money go from the donor's bank account into your system, and you're saying something about holding the money, and then it's transferred from your system to our organisational bank accounts as a lump or something, or is it still flowing directly from the donor individually into our account?
So what happens is that it goes via the client account, exactly, and then so we'll then give you the lump sum of all the payments. So if you have a collection on the 1st of every month, all those individual payments will go direct, first of all, into the client account. The client account, obviously, that we can't touch, and that money, and then basically on a week's basis, once all the failures have come through, that money is then in lump sent directly to your institution.
Okay. And then can it be broken down? Can the information be viewed or broken down by donor still though, and run off spreadsheet or CSV or something? Yeah,
that's it. And the settlement files gives you tells you who each individual donors are, who they are. And like you can have their things like the designated, the funds that they want to give it to, and all that kind of stuff. So yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Cheers.
No problem.
Yeah. Sorry for missing that, Jennifer. Thank you for putting your hand up to ask that question. Are there any other questions that anyone had? Pretty sure we've covered them all. Fantastic. In that case, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for giving up your lunch times to be here. Great to see so many people on the call, and thank you to Jonathan, Sam and Chris for your time sharing the platform today. There's a feedback form in the chat. We'd love to get your feedback just so we can continue to improve these sessions and help the charity sector. Louise's system is down. But thank you all, and hopefully see you on another session soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.